What's up, guys? It's Teague from Battle City Games. You may notice I'm in a little bit different setting today. That's because I recently went through a move, but don't worry, we're going to keep pumping content out to you guys every single week so that you don't have to miss out on a single profile or any of our other content. You may notice as well that this is a Pendulum Magician profile. That's because Corbett Joker just came back to 1 on the July 1st ban list, and Double Iris Magician is back at 2. So I was very excited to get this profile out to you guys because this is one of my favorite Pendulum decks of all time. As always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our future content. And let's go ahead and get on into it. Let's go. Alright, so starting off, of course, we've got Triple Wisdom Eye Magician, a staple in most Pendulum Magician builds since he lets you destroy himself to add any other Magician Pendulum card to your scale. And then as well, we've got the Triple Harmonizing Magician, just one of your best extenders in the deck since she allows you to get any other Magician Pendulum monster directly from your deck to your side of the field, regardless of level. And then we are on Triple Oath Dragon Magician for this build. Just one of your best low scales in the deck. We don't actually play that many low scales, so it's important to max out on the best ones. And his ability to constantly recycle Magician Pendulums from your extra deck back to your hand is crucial, especially with cards like Harmonizing Magician, where you can't summon them out from the extra deck directly. And then for number one of our 3-ofs, we have the Triple Chronograph Sorcerer. Not quite as good as Astrograph Sorcerer by any regards, but he does turn himself into a Time Gazer Magician, which means that he's essentially a free monster on board to get your link plays going. He does have that monster effect as well, but if a card's destroyed, he can special summon himself out alongside another monster. That one's not going to come up too often, but it is there just in case. And then as another starter, we do have Triple Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser. This card is literally just here as a free starter because if you control no monsters and he is in your Pendulum scale, you can special summon him out, so he just becomes a free body on board for your linked plays. Then moving into the only 2 of them in the deck, we have the freshly off the limited list Double Iris Magician. Some people didn't think that this card going to 2 would make that big of an impact for the deck, but having that second copy allows you to more easily get to both of your Pendulum Graph cards in the same turn without having to resort to using something like your Oath Dragon Magician to add a Double Iris back, which means you can save your Oath Dragon for more impactful cards like Harmonizing Magician that you want to be able to recycle to give you follow-up plays. Now, another card that the deck just got back is Corbett Joker. This card is the Stratos of Pendulum monsters, as when he is normal summoned, he allows you to add a Performapal, Magician Pendulum, or Odd Eyes monster from your deck to your hand. Obviously, we're going to be going for Magician Pendulum out of those options, but just having that easy access to cards like Harmonizing Magician, Oath Dragon, Double Iris, really whatever you need in this situation is just too good to not play him. And then pairing with him is the 1 Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer. This card pairs exceedingly well with Pendulum Magicians, because when he is special summoned, you can target up to 2 cards you control, destroy them, and then add that many Performapal monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. So you can use him to destroy your Double Iris Magician in scale, and then you'll get to add your Performapal monster as well as one of your Pendulum Graph cards off of Double Iris's effect. And then the last Performapal card we play is the Celestial Magician. This card's actually really strong because it's both a Performapal and Magician card, so it is searchable off of Pendulum Sorcerer as well as any of your other cards that search Magician Pendulum cards. And then the primary effect that we're going to be using off of this guy is his monster effect, that when he is normal or special summoned, if you control another Pendulum monster, during the end phase you get to add 1 Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. That can be any of your Pendulum monsters, and the important thing here is, again, he's just giving you follow-up plays to make sure that if your board gets broken, going into your next turn, you still have something to bounce back with. And for some more one-offs, we have the 1 Purple Poison Magician. Just one of your better low scales. You don't have that many, and he pairs very well with your time Pendulum Graph in order to allow you to get that double destruction. We also have the 1 Dragon Pit Magician. Just a solid high scale for the deck. Having that spell and trap destruction built in is always important, especially with cards like Mystic Mind floating around. Being able to destroy spells and traps with a pendulum effect instead of a monster effect is crucial. We are trying out the 1 Dragon Pulse Magician. Not quite as good as Dragon Pit, but I actually like the ability to have, again, that pendulum effect to destroy monsters, because there are certain cards in the format right now, like Drytron Draconoids, I believe is the 4,000 attack ritual monster, that cannot be targeted by monster effects, but Dragon Pulse gets around that and allows you to easily remove him from the board if your opponent ends on him. Also a low scale, so there's that. Then for the last Magician Pendulum card, we have the 1 Time Gazer Magician. Not really a card you want to see in your hand. Worst case scenario, he is a high scale though if you need to scale him, but ideally we're going to be looking to summon him off Chronograph Sorcerer for a free body. Moving into the non-Pendulum monsters of the deck, we do have triple Magician Souls. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, in Pendulum Magicians, Magician Souls itself is not that crucial. You could easily substitute this card out for something like a Jester Confit and not really lose out on any major combos or plays. I go with the Souls because I do like the ability to get that guaranteed spellcaster like Chronograph or Oath Dragon into a graveyard for something like Selene, as well as the potential if you open 2 of a specific card, like maybe 2 Desires or both copies of your Time Pendulum Graph. Having Souls allows you to cycle those a little bit to get into some of your other cards. A card that is needed in the deck, in my opinion, is Triple Tuning Magician. She's just a level 1 free starter or extender if you have 2 Magician cards in your Pendulum zones while she's in your hand or graveyard. You can special summon her but banish her when she leaves the field, and that is a once per turn effect, and when she is summoned, your opponent gains 400 life points, so you take 400. Not that big of a deal as long as you're not in time, but we really care about the fact that she is a tuner monster, so we can summon her out in order to get into our Halki Fibrex plays, or we can also summon her out off of our Halki Fibrex plays, and then we can use her ability to recycle herself back to field for some free extension and link climbing or synchro plays. Then for the last monster in the main deck, we have the 1 Artifact Scythe. The Artifact combo in Pendulum Magicians is pretty well known at this point, but we're just going to usually use Dagda to set this to our field, and then destroy it during our opponent's turn in order to lock them out of the extra deck, allowing us to buy ourselves that extra turn in order to get the kill going into our second turn. That's going to do it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, we do have Triple Duelist Alliance. This is just a great search card for the deck since it can grab any Pendulum monster or spell or trap card with Pendulum in the name from your deck directly to your hand, as long as you have a card in one of your Pendulum zones at least. So this can search your Double Iris Magician since he's always treated as a Pendulum monster. It can search your Pendulum Sorcerer, and then it can also search like your Pendulum Graph spell and traps. We are then also playing Double Pot of Desires. You do have some 1-ups in the decks, but they are not so crucial that you would want to avoid playing Desires. If anything, you try to search them out first. But in Pendulum decks, getting that extra card from Desires is just very important because it's really going to allow you to extend your plays out further. And then for the 1-up spells, we have 1-star Pendulum Graph. Searchable off Double Iris. Its ability to guarantee that if you have a Magician Pendulum card leave your field, you can get a new one from deck, is just extremely powerful, as it ensures, again, that you have those follow-up plays. And it also does prevent your spellcaster monsters from being targeted with spell cards or effects, which with a deck like Striker in the format is actually a little bit more important because it does protect them from Widow Anchor. Then for the last spell card in the deck, we have 1 Pendulum Call. As weird as it may seem, since it was one of the first Magician Pendulum cards we got, I believe, all the way back in that structure deck, it just does not gel very well with the deck because it prevents your Magician Pendulum cards from being destroyed by card effects. which means that your double iris can't trigger, your wisdom eye can't trigger itself, and you can't activate this card if you've already used a magician pendulum effect during the turn, meaning that you can't like use your wisdom eyes first and then use pendulum call. So since we have so many other search options in the deck, we don't really want to clog ourselves down with pendulum call and lock ourselves out of destruction. So we just play the 1 so that if we do need the additional monsters, maybe we don't open the double iris or wisdom eye. Pendulum call at least gives us some additional monsters to our field or to our hand. And then for the last 2 cards in the deck, we do have double time Pendulum Graph. We're playing 2 of this instead of a 1 like Star Pendulum Graph because it is a little more crucial. You really want to make sure that you have that disruption set up during your opponent's turn. And if you do happen to be protected by something like Pendulum Call or your Time Star Magician, the secondary ability to send a card from the field to the graveyard if you did not destroy 2 cards is great because it does not target, which means it can get to stuff like Dragoons, which can be difficult to out in some cases. That's going to do it for the main deck. Moving on into the extra deck, you heard me mention earlier, we do have the 1 artifact Dagda. Again, just a super generic link 2, easy to get into to give you some link arrows for your Pendulum summon, as well as searching out that artifact site for you with the quick effect. Just a good one-up to have in the deck. And then, of course, we have the 1 Halki Fibrex. Easy to get into because of Harmonizing Magician and Tuning Magician. And one play that I like to make in the deck sometimes, if I don't have access to Harmonizing Magician, but I do have easy access to Halki Fibrex, I can make the Halki Fibrex, summon out the Harmonizing Magician from my deck, and then link her off alongside Halki Fibrex, and then use Oath Dragon Magician to add her back to hand. So it's kind of a convoluted way to search Harmonizing to your hand, but she's so important that it is worth it in both scenarios. Then for the last link 2, we do have 1 IP Masquerena. Just some additional disruption options in the deck. Sometimes, especially later in the game, you might not want to go into some of your exceeds or what have you. So having IP in order to set you up with that link summon during your opponent's turn is pretty good. And speaking of disruption, we have the 1 Nightmare Unicorn. Just use Masquerena to go into Unicorn during your opponent's turn to get that spin in order to provide you with that additional layer of disruption. And then for our other link 3, of course, we have Selene, Queen of the Master Magicians. This card just pairs so well with Pendulum Magicians because they are all spellcasters. She's so easy to get into, and then you can use her to summon back any spellcaster from your graveyard. So that could be your Tuning Magician, your Magician Souls, or if you've used any of your Pendulum cards as materials for Exceed summons, you can also summon them back, which can be great for something like your Performer Pal Celestial Magician in order to trigger his effect. Then for our link 4s, we have the 1 Apollosa Bow of the Goddess. Very easy to get into her in this deck because it's so easy to get monsters out on board, especially if something like Selene. You can use Selene, bring back whatever you need, and then go into at least a 2 material Apollosa to give you those additional negates during your opponent's turn. Then one card I always like to pair with Masquerena is Avermax. Avermax himself cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects, and if he battles a special summon monster, he can gain the attack of that monster. So when he's paired with Masquerena, he cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, meaning that the only way they can out him is by tributing him for a kaiju or using a non-targeting, non-destruction effect, which is pretty hard to come by for a lot of decks. And then for the last link 4, we do have the 1 Access Code Talker. Just a great OTK enabler, but I do say this in most of my videos. Do not let Access Code Talker keep you from playing a deck. You can easily substitute him out for a Boral Sword Dragon or a Boral Load Dragon, and you will not be that much worse off. Boral Sword is also a great OTK card, so if you don't have Access Code, feel free to play Boral Sword. It's a much more affordable option. Moving into the Exceeds, we have the 1 Time Star Magician. The ability of this card to detach material and add a Dark Spellcaster from your deck, graveyard, or extra deck to your hand is very powerful since it allows you to recycle your Skull Corbett Joker for multiple uses over different turns. Again, just to ensure you have those follow-up plays going into your future turns. And then the ability that if one of your Pendulum cards would be destroyed, you can send a spellcaster from your deck to the graveyard. Just allows you to easily trigger the second ability of Time Pendulum Graph, as well as also allowing you to send your Tuning Magician to the graveyard. So if you used one, or maybe if you don't even haven't used one yet, you can use Time Star to bin your Tuning Magician and give you another extension going into your next turn. We do have the one Tornado Dragon, just an easy way to destroy your Scythe during your opponent's turn. Just takes 2 level 4 monsters, and with decks like Striker and other more back row heavy decks running around in the format, can just be a great option in general. We do have the one Supreme King Dragon Dark Rebellion. Great OTK enabler, just takes 2 level 4 Dark Pendulum monsters, and then he can reduce your opponent's monster's attack to 0 when it battles, and then he gains that attack. I've actually gotten this guy up to 6,500 by stealing all 4,000 attack from a Drytron Draconoid, so can definitely get pretty big and get you some easy OTKs. Then one card I like to tech into the extra deck is Evil Swarm Nightmare. Not a lot of people play this card in the deck, but all he takes is 2 level 4 dark monsters, and then if your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can detach 1 Exceed material from him, change that special summon monster to face down defense position, and that is not once per turn, guys. So if your opponent disrupts you, maybe you can't really get into some of your more optimal plays, you can always set up a Nightmare, and a lot of decks really can't play through having 2 of their summons flipped face down, because that means they can't be used for things like link materials, which is really going to hinder them, especially if depending on what deck you're looking at. But just a great option overall as a one-of. And then for the Synchro monsters, of course, we have TG Wonder Magician. She's summonable off of your Hockey Fabric since she is a tuner, and when she is Synchro summoned, you get to target a spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. Again, just another way to pop your Scythe, and you can always, if she stays on board, you can always use her for Synchro plays, or if your opponent destroys her by battle or card effect, you get to draw a card. So just multiple uses there makes her a good one-of in the deck. Then we do have one FA Dawn Dragster as our level 7 Synchro. Tuning Magician's a level 1, Chronograph and Oath Dragon are level 6, so this guy's pretty easy to make, and just sets you up with a nice spell or trap negate on your side of the board. And then for the last card in the extra deck, we have the one Borreload Savage Dragon. Just one of the better level 8 Synchros you can play in the deck since he's so easy to go into, and can set you up with some negates going forward. A lot of times you don't really make him on your first turn. In a lot of cases, he'll be more of a second turn play in order to ensure you have a negate to kind of close the game out. And that's going to do it for the profile, guys. Like I said, I'm really excited to see this deck get a little bit more powerful. Hopefully in the future we see some additional cards back off the list like Electromite or Astrograph Sorcerer. But the Double Iris and Skullcrobat Joker buffs did help the deck a lot. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think this is the best Pendulum deck to play right now in the format? Or do you think something like Endymion or some other Pendulum options still are a little bit stronger than this? And again, as always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you like the video and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, I'm T with Battle City Games.